With the spate of coup d'etats in Africa and the growing call for more to be done to stem the tides, there's also a growing call for more to be done to strengthen democracy on the continent. With Sudan, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and now Gabon having military junta governing them, and the fear that it may spread to other African countries on the continent, and some African countries like Cameroon and Rwanda taking serious measures like military reshuffle and retirement of very senior military officers, it is only important that we tend to look at it. Is it really more that should be done and employed to ensure and entrench true democracy in Africa? And what shape should it, or rather that order of shaping democracy in Africa, take other than good governance? Hence the need for us to talk about it on the big story for today. And we're talking about strengthening democracy in Africa, the call for good governance. And that's what we're having as a major discourse today on the big story. And we agree that it's quite timely, looking at the turn of events that seems to be happening on the continent and the recent call for true democratic norms to really be entrenched on the continent. But anyway, to really help us talk about it, we have no other person. But anyway, I'd rather call him Ambassador, which he is. And we're talking of no other one but Ambassador. Okay, Idawane. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to the crew and good morning to Nigerians on the world.
Most recently, the decline in democratic governance on the continent has been characterized by several unconstitutional change of power, like military coup d'etats in Burkina Faso, Chad, Guinea, Mali, Sudan, and funny enough, just a day before yesterday in Gabon. Now, is it a thing of concern for both citizens on the continent and basically the leaders also that seems to be leading these countries?
It is a great concern to the entire world, not just Africa.
Okay.
Because in moments Africa sneezes, the world sneezes. Because it's a global world,
yes,
a majority of the natural resources required for the Western world is gotten from Africa.
Of course.
And based on that, that's why you see the Americans, the French government, the German government, the UK government, or British government, all coming after the countries where we have coups recently. But is that the solution? No. It's a great concern because over the years, we forsook the causes, the causative factors bringing these protests. I call it protests. I'm not a fan of the military in government. We were taught in politics then as an aberration for military government to be in power. But as it is, because of the legitimacy nature of African governments, because of the irresponsible nature of the leadership in Africa, majority of them, and above all, accountability of resources of government. These are the three major factors that are the issues. But it's a concern.
Yeah.
And we're here this morning to appeal why we do these discussions for people to listen and toe the line of democratic government, strengthening democracy. We should eschew military coming into government. Why we give room for changes by the leadership of the government, various governments in Africa. And we're going to talk about them as we move on. So it is a major concern to the world, not just Africa.
Okay. Well, you've started well. And at this point, let's just narrow it down as bare as it is. Let's just put it down as it is. What are the reasons why Africa is currently experiencing a gradual decline in democratic governance?
Why in my opening page, I did mention it, but I'm going to break it down now. You see, a situation, one of the major reasons are we refuse to tilt away from monarchy.
Kind of leadership.
Monarchy, the Stone Age. The monarchical system of government is still in the DNA of the average African leader. That we must look out for. It is, I am the best, my family is the best, every other family is inferior. This hereditary symptom. If you look at all the coups that have been happening, you see, they sit tight. A king will be there until he dies, before another king will come up. Now you see the presidents of these countries, look at them. Some have spent 30-something years, 16 years, 20-something years. How can one man lead a country for those number of years? Are you the only sane or good leader in the country? Then you want to leave, you want to bequeath government to your son or your subjects or your stooge, as the case may be. It's unacceptable. So one of the major reasons is that it is, do I call it nature that will refuse to change? Whereby we grew up in a stone age with monarchy and we practice democracy in a monarchical system. It's not acceptable. We must change our attitude towards that. You are not the best. Life is live and let's live turn by turn. You come on, somebody else come on. You look for the best leaders to take over from you. That's what it ought to be. So that is one of the reasons. The other one is accountability, where one man will have all access to all the mineral resources in the country. Every other sector is crying. You don't want to listen. You want to grab all. Greed, nepotism. Then responsibility. How many governments are responsible in Africa where we don't value lives, where infrastructural development are not consigned? You don't care what happens to your citizenry. You don't care what the insecurity in the land. A responsible government will bring security to you. The other one is legitimacy of the government. Our electionary process, how is it like? Party things, arrangement things, electoral fraud all over the place. You don't listen to the rule of law. You are bigger than the no separation of power. And at the end of the day, when you start, a little drop of water makes a mighty ocean. When you start gathering, when these people start gathering these errors in leadership, you remember what brought coup first in Nigeria was corruption at the highest level. And since then, we brought in democracy, military came in again, and what's called new system of government, and military came in again. And before you know it, here we are. It's not our portion here, but like the president has said this morning or yesterday evening, he said the Gabon coup is a major concern for him, meaning it's also a way for us to sit up. And these are the problems that are causing this coup d'etat.
Okay, you did mention accountability, yes, and bad governance.
Yes. Legitimacy of the government.
Yes, legitimacy,
and
yes.
Irresponsible nature of governance.
Yes. What about intimidation of oppositions and even independent media houses? Do you think they have a role to play to this?
Once a government is legitimate, they will know to intimidate the media nor opposition. A government is legitimate, give room for robust system of governance, whereby they even seek opinion of others from other parties to say, what do we do about this? Example, when there was Ebola, whereby the minister of health then handled Ebola very well. But when what's it called now? COVID came. If I were the president of the country, I would go to that man, whether in PDP or in SYZ party, bring him aboard. How did you tackle Ebola? We nip it at the board. But because because of another party, he does not know what is happening. I must use my party members. Enough of that. So responsible government must. A good government must. Bad leadership is our problem. Let me just summarize it. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
That because when you got, how can you say that you are banning whatever I say here, honey, help me. The name of your company.
Honeywell
Communication is not responsible. It's my opinion. It's okay that way. Now, you are a president of the country. Honeyways, right? Honeyways, yes. Honeyways, you're president of the country, and I'm saying SYZ media should not cover me. You owe all of us responsibility. You have no legitimate rights to make that statement. That statement ought to have not come out at all. If you are feeling secured, the moment you make such selective means of a reportage, then automatically you have finished up your program that you're not ready for leadership.
Okay, now let's look at it. You've given us elaborate reason why you feel this persists in Africa. And most of the reasons are really quite understandable and quite really explanatory in itself. But I want to ask, do you also see foreign or external interference as another major reason we're having spate of coups in Africa? Foreign interference.
The foreign interference, there is an adage that says that, even in the Bible and the Quran, a country's enemy are members of the country, not foreign. I want to look at it from that angle.
Yeah, let me try and understand you.
The rats in the house, we go and call the one from outside that there is food
In the house.
in the house, let's eat it. So if you look at all this, foreign has a role to play. But if the internal crisis is not
Mechanism.
there, these things that she has asked me, sit tight to government, hold on to power, irresponsible means of leadership, then gagging the opposition, also refusing to obey the rule of law, at the end of the day, kill the press, kill freedom of expression, and you are already practicing military style of government. That's what the military does. They suspend the constitution and what have you. So when you have such things, somebody that is suffering or angry within the Gabon now, if we have a foreign link, what do we do to asthma this government? Okay. You will not provide the weakness of the military.
Okay, so you feel there's always
the
local internal interference
that brings the foreign stuff. An American government will not come into Nigeria if we don't give them the room to come in.
Okay, but with what you just said right now, let's go back to the issue at Niger. We understand that the Wagner group was sent to them. How did this come about? Is it that someone inside Niger then demanded that, okay, Wagner group, Russia, come to our aid or something? How did that, using what you just said right now, how does that even make sense?
You know, the Wagner group are rebellious in nature. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
So, already the coup in Niger is already a rebellion situation. Now, there is an internal link. You know, as I'm here, you don't know how many people I talk to in a day.
Of course.
Between Nigeria and outside the country. So, what you have seen there is a situation whereby some people within who has connection. Look at Mali, look at Burkina Faso, look at other countries saying they are standing with Niger. Are you following me?
Yes.
So you see that there is this, and if care is not taken, it's going to be, there's already a cabal working on these people. Or there's economic downturn at the end of the day. Gain from it. But if there was if the edge is not broken, the serpent cannot come in.
So that's why I said foreign interference also play a major role.
Okay, they are the ones engineering these rebels
for their
but when there is no fire, there is no smoke.
Okay, now you've said this, and I want to take my next question in this direction. Now, we hardly see such happen. I'm talking about military coup d'etats. We hardly see such happen in America. We hardly see such happen in Europe. Asia had their own big share of it. And the Latin America also did. And even in the Middle East, that had long years of having military rulers, they're already shying away from such stand of having coup d'etats. So do you feel that a strong democratic norm can only be entrenched on this continent if we seem to have good governance? Because if you look at all these countries I've made mention earlier, there's always a link between all of them. They talk about good governance and how to bring about it through their elections. If a particular party is in power, they are not comfortable with the policies and the rest, every likelihood is that they'll be defeated in the next election.
That's it.
And bring about those that will be more friendly and also acceptable to the people's wish. So do you feel that is what is lacking here? And do you feel we introducing that would totally put an end to this unholy practice.
Now, first and foremost, we are here this morning to talk about democratic strengthening.
Yes.
To strengthen this building, if it has issues, is to give it more pillars.
Okay.
Check where there are cracks and refurbish.
Okay.
Or rejuvenate or
resources
or resurface or whatever. Now, to strengthen democracy is bringing in all the ingredients. To strengthen something is to make it stronger, make it viable, heading so that it can succeed, so that it can thrive, so that at the end of the day it blossoms for everyone to get a feel of it positively and not negatively.
Yeah.
Now, the context at which we are discussing this morning, you can imagine a situation whereby we don't have, I want to go back again, we don't have institutions in Nigeria whereby the opposition here, if you shout because this man will be corrupt and you have some skeleton in your cupboard, the dust that fire, they bring it before you and you are intimidated. Like she asked, why are the oppositions intimidated? Another thing is that he who comes to equity comes with clean hand. Now, for us to get democratic strengthened, we must respect the rule of law, separation of power. You can imagine during the National Assembly elections, whereby they have to leave the National Assembly to go back to the president, who determines who becomes Senate President, House of Reps, Speaker, and what have you, who chairs, who gives you details of the principal officers in the National Assembly. Did you see committees in the Assembly?
Who chairs them?
Are determined by 2-3 people in a particular room. Now the issue is not even shared based on professionalism and your profession. Competence. It's shared based on, I know my career, I know this guy, I know this woman, and let's go. Now, another way you can look at it is that, how can you, a president, determine who become the president of the Senate? Automatically, you have already gagged the Senate in your pocket. Then the judiciary, they are saying all eyes on judiciary, because over the years, recently, you see that judiciary, they parked vehicles in some town where they arrested judges, they messed them up, they did that. It's unheard of. How do you grow? So the moment we get a governance, democratic principles, electoral process that brings in legitimate government that you and I can say, yes, we elected you, we have solved half of our problems. Because when you are not doing well, if the president not doing well in America, if he's a Republican president, the Democrats are already planning a government of their own.
Taking on his
errors
and
preaching them out. Of late, I have been on air shouting that if the president is not ready to give us leadership, he should vacate the seat. For instance, issues upon issues, the palliative issue that are not being properly handled, the fuel subsidy issue that he brought in, was not ready for it, what have you. I said, no, we didn't plan for this. We have better heads that can lead us if you're not ready.
Okay, I will plead with you to hold on. We need to go on a break now. And then when we come back, we'll talk about how we can really strengthen democracy. And that recent call that the best way to do so is all about good governance.
Good governance.
Yes, and that's what we'll continue our discussion with. But let's go on a break, and when we come back, we'll continue to talk some more.